Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, Emily Sophia, here to break down for you guys, better late than never, the latest episode of Hannibal, which is entitled "And the Woman Clothed with the Sun." So, spoiler alert before we dive into the mad thick of things, as I shall be bearing all in this review. And this review might turn out to be a bit shorter than most of my other ones, as I am also filming my late True Detective vlog tonight. I was gone at the beach this weekend, apparently lost my brain a little bit, but I am back in the game and ready to roll. So this was, of course, yet another brilliant chapter forward into the Red Dragon story. And what we got very strongly in this week's episode was, well, the theme of family. Of all things in this ridiculously twisted universe, it continues to be the fabric of so many relationships that we have watched unfold on the screen, whether these are more traditional families, don't get that so much in this universe, but we get to see the idea of family, of pursuing family, and even of adoption as well, which we got an unexpected journey into the past where we see the way that Hannibal adopted Abigail Hobbs. And that's something that I so adore about this show, is that for as generally linear as things go, the story is continuing to get filled in the background. All the things that were kept from us and just out of view behind the curtain, we get to be transported back to those times. So it was really incredibly surreal. I mean, surreal is a word that I feel like I have used in almost every single vlog that I have done about this show, but the shoe freaking fits, ladies and gentlemen. This is a Cinderella story. Yeah, but just getting to see the way that Hannibal treats Abigail with such tenderness, so gently, after, of course, we were led to believe that he had killed her off the first time, which just makes things all the more painful when he actually goes through with it to show the family that Will sacrificed in the end. And we see once again, too, in the present sense, Hannibal is rekindling that idea of family when Will comes a-calling. And responding to the letter that Jack actually sent. And there is a little bit of a manipulation piece going on with Jack that's not making me feel so comfortable. But nonetheless, Will is drawn back into this world where the American family dream is continuously shattered by this moonlight killer, the tooth fairy figure. So one way or another, family comes near once again. We are back in Hannibal's mind palace as he sees himself in his den at his old house, chatting it up with Will about the ways of the Red Dragon, and the two of them explore the scene of the crime together as Will finds himself in the body of the Red Dragon and tries to piece together what has been broken, the glass that has been placed on the eyes of these deceased, brutally ended, but once happy families. And at the same time, Hannibal takes the opportunity to remind Will of the fact that he had given him a child. And that is kind of the impetus for going back to explore what really happened with Abigail behind the scenes. I think that my favorite scene of the episode was the blood spatter sequence as they set the scene of the crime. There was something that was so Dexter-esque about that. So for those of you who enjoyed that show along with me in years gone by, it was a little bit of a blast from the nostalgic bloody past. But yeah, so a lot of ideas about family in the mix in this episode. We even get a glimpse into the family that Alana has established for herself, even now as the quintuple. She's the gatekeeper of the 5 doors between Hannibal and the outside world. Living pretty, dressing like she walks straight out of a Janelle Monáe music video. And also on the side is establishing a family with Margot and a child that she carried that is in fact the Verger baby who will now take on the Verger estate someday. So yeah, we at least get to know that if we don't end up seeing Margot again before the season is out, but chances are we might. I don't know. But yeah, so there's this idea of what everybody has come into or is grasping for. We also even get little glimpses as to the importance of family in the eyes of the Red Dragon. Much more to come, of course, but I think that so far the show is pacing things really nicely, and that we're going to get further and further into Francis Dollarhide without things necessarily escalating too quickly. That's something that I've generally appreciated about the show, is the fact that it's never really moving at a crazy breakneck speed, and does in fact take its time through each and every torturous and beautiful piece. And so that is brilliant. As far as the Red Dragon goes, we do get to spend a little bit of time this week. He is continuing to become, but that process is slightly altered by his meeting Reba McCain, I think is her name. So she is the lady who's working at the film processing plant and offers to develop the infrared film for Francis that he requests. And for the first time, we really get to hear the Red Dragon, Francis Dollarhide, speak. And I think that Richard Armitage is doing such a bang-up job in this role thus far. I mean, for every scene where we see him posturing and transforming and taking on this agonizing pain, I mean, it's almost the opposite of Dr. Lecter when you think about it, like what Alana Bloom was saying to Hannibal in his cell when she is threatening him as far as his interactions with Will go. And she's saying that it's not pain that he fears, but indignity. Whereas we see that Francis himself is consumed with pain, with the agony of rebirth. And that is, too, another major theme at the beginning of this mid-season premiere shift of sorts. Because we see the way that all of these characters who all pretty much died, in some sense, how everybody is sort of being reborn, and family structures are shifting, and yet there is always this pursuit of love. There is always this pursuit of longing. It's even something that Hannibal tries to impart to Abigail, telling her that your father loved you in his own way. Now you must love him. And all the while becoming the surrogate father figure to her so that they can express this love to one another by killing everyone or some such. But, you know, so that's all good and fun. But yeah, so Francis meets Reba, and I love the dynamic between the two of them, of course. And just the way that Reba is able to find not just a sense of comfort in who Francis is, but this sense of accord that she neither expects or desires, nor does she receive sympathy regarding her blindness. And so now in kind, she wants to get to know Francis better as a sort of show of gratitude for him being a decent person that she's interested in, which is so overwhelmingly ironic considering the truth behind the surface. And as he is in the midst of becoming and feeling his sensitivities and vulnerabilities, he does not permit her to make contact with his face, but rather says, "Trust me, I'm smiling." I do have to point out, too, that when Francis picks her up at the bus stop, there are these two giant, toothy, open-wide posters, which, hello! Talk about showing, not telling. That's what I love about this show. It does both. It does both in so many beautiful ways. But yeah, and so we see that the two of them are kind of adopting one another into their hearts of sorts. You know, I don't want to necessarily say that Reba and Francis are striking up this family bond per se. But we get to see a really interesting dynamic unfold between them, which stands in such stark contrast to the nature of the Red Dragon, to what he is pursuing. Another aspect of the episode that I enjoyed was getting to see Freddie Lounds once again. I mean, there was so much just so nostalgic about this half of the season. I think not only from being back in Maryland, of course, but so many faces back from the dead, even including Zeller and Price. I did love their little back and forth about how Price seemed to be more concerned about the death of the cat than of the people. And he's like, dude, cats are a big deal. That's something that resonates with me. But I like people too, FYI. Yeah, so anyways, Freddie is back in the picture, of course, and she is digging her heels right into the hot story that is brewing, with Will being back in his old line of work, and of course consulting the man who tried to kill him several times. But it's just not that simple. It's just not that simple. Now, of course, the return of Freddie begs the question, is she gonna die like the way she fake died the other season? In the way, well, there is a certain fate that is met by the character of Freddie Lounds in the literature, which I am not going to spoil just in case you don't know, but you might have, I don't know, I'm not going to touch that, but she's back in the game, back to agitate things and to call everything Will is trying to know into question. He still has his loving family with Molly and Walter in the distance, and Molly continues to reiterate that she will be there for him and they will continue to adopt dogs for as long as they both shall live. I really do hope that was written into their wedding vows, because that seems to be the way of it for them, bringing the doggies home. But yeah, so I'm sorry, I'm jumping all over the place with this episode. I just watched it and all these things are swimming in my mind, and I want to talk about them all at once because they're all so great. And also, we did end the episode with a certain little phone call to Hannibal from the Red Dragon, who appreciates the fact that he can find in the person of Hannibal a bit of understanding. And he is the first to be beholden to the emergence of the Great Red Dragon. All is becoming very exciting here. Loving the presence of Will back in Hannibal's life and the sort of revelization. That's realization plus revelation. Revelization, baby. Oh gosh, what seems to fit, because we're the images that we're dealing with as far as the Red Dragon goes in William Blake's paintings are from the Book of Revelation in the Bible, and FYI, the woman clothed in the sun gives birth, the woman clothed in the sun gives birth to a son that the Red Dragon has to kill. So, we are working our way toward the ultimate becoming, which has replaced all the food titles, but is incredibly fitting because at the moment people are not being eaten. Not right now. But yeah, so we see a lot of finger wagging in Hannibal's direction, as now he's got his good old friend back. The friend with the aftershave and the dogs and the children. But yeah, with Jack in the picture, his role is certainly called into question, and it looks like he is moving things behind the scenes in a way that is questionable. And so while everybody is moving and posturing around Hannibal, who roams free in his mind palace, and may very well find it within himself to move beyond the mind palace and make the world his actual everything palace. But yeah, of course, we do feel a bit uncomfortable with what's going on with Jack. I mean, he's in a very different place now than when he was mourning the death of his wife and going ham. Clearly, he is walking on thin ice. Just about everybody is. Because even when you think about this family bond that exists between Will and Hannibal, what exactly does family mean if love can manifest itself in so many different ways? So there's what's not to say that Will's gonna find himself in harm's way again in the name of love. It's like that 10cc song, The Things We Do for Love. That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, so I'm trying to think of other favorite moments that I might have missed. Of course, I live tweet the show when I watch it, so you can follow me at MMightySophia on Twitter. But, wow, sorry, I don't mean to just sit around and plug myself. Oh, I have to say, I really love the title of Freddie Lounde's story, Insane Fiend Consulted in Mass Murders by Agent He Tried to Kill. That is a splashy freaking title. Yeah, and there's also... Hannibal is talking to Will about his family and the idea that Will can only have a stepson because of his fear of passing on the things that he fears the most. Whereas we see Hannibal passing on to Abigail the things that he craves to bring out in others. And man, it's so crazy, this little family tree that we have going on here, all in the midst of the emergence of this new killer, of course, who is targeting families. So I love that we get to focus so richly on these themes to see just how unnerving they are. All of the strange visuals where characters appear to be where they are not, as we're getting in everyone's heads. Even Will transports himself back to his bed with his wife when he's on the phone with her. And then, of course, shortly thereafter, dreams about becoming the Red Dragon and murdering the woman who is splayed forth and bloodied on the bed. Like, so much powerful imagery. There's a lot of, like, fading to black stuff with Hannibal. It makes me feel like he's on the stage. You know, everybody sees him now, of course, sees him in this place. But he can shift the scene in his own mind just as much as he ever could. In lieu of making human feasts, he takes everything that he can see, everything that he can bring into his mind. That is all to him the greatest dignity. But yeah, yet another wonderful, amazing chapter. Lots to laugh at, lots to feel unnerved about. I'm digging it as much as I ever was. So if there's anything glaring that I happen to miss and not refer to in this review, which was, I know, very scattered, please let me know in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. You were such an immense blessing. We'll chat it up in the comments. I will be back next Saturday, and also back with the finale of True Detective and all that jazz, and channel update coming soon. Thank you guys so much again, and as always, I will be back before you know.